Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here in the Flower City. We welcome you to the 81-degree studios here in downtown Rochester. Yeah, let's sit in the sauna together, the hot house, if you will. Our number, 866-4326, the area code probably 585. We're at 95.7 FM, AM 950, always streaming for free inside the Odyssey app. We're on YouTube and Twitch as we wave hello to you in the cameras. And anytime you want to reach us, we're on X at WGR Rochester. I'm keeping my sport coat out of spite here. I'm not going to cave in, but I have to warn everybody, and I'm going to do my damnedest so this does not happen. Because personally, I don't want to see this, but Terrible Time Timmy is threatening to take his shirt off and do this show shirtless today.
Unsafe work conditions. I should get hazard pay for this.
So yesterday, you'd be happy to know it was 82 in here. So the problem we had, not this past winter, but a couple winters ago, like, wait a second, there's no heat in our side of the building. And
that was fun, too.
That was not fun. And actually, you know what that was? That was illegal. That we could have easily called the city of Rochester and said, hey, we're below 60 degrees here, and, you can see my breath. This isn't cool, and became kind of a running joke until it really wasn't funny anymore. And then yesterday we had a really first summer hot day, and there's some cooling issue, blah, blah, blah. I love that we're in an old building that has been repurposed. We're in the High Falls Studios. This building, what was it, 1888, something like that. We have the first two floors. We're on the corner of Commercial and Mill. But the HVAC system is just, I don't even know what they're doing. They should have just replaced it years ago. So don't know what it's going to fix. But the funny part is, like, every thermostat on the two floors, like, just the front panel they removed. Because, like, everybody's going up to it, hitting down, 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 down. Like, nope, it's not even working. So, and we can't even open up the windows here because it's not allowed here. So on the first floor. Yeah,
no, these windows aren't going to move. This heat is only going to rise.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun 2 hours here.
Yeah, so let's see if
can't even breathe.
If either of us get cranky here today. But the weird thing is there are some parts of the building that are a little more comfortable than others. And I think the conference room, at least where Dandelion sets up shop, he'll be fine. Great show we have lined up for you today, 2 o'clock hour. Our favorite Baltimorean, our betting expert, PJ Glasser, will be joining us. We have the NBA conference finals. We have a little NHL. We've got baseball. PJ will join us here in hour number 2. Bottom of this hour. All right. To recycle the joke I used yesterday, Tim. We're Homer Simpson coming out of the going into the show with a Sabre gear shirt, and now we're coming out with a Bills shirt.
Right.
So here we are. Sal Capaccio, WGR Bills reporter, will join us bottom of this hour as OTA is ongoing. We had Keon Coleman in front of reporters for the first time since Terry Pagula kind of put him on the spot there in the season-ending press conference. So we'll talk to Sal coming up bottom of this hour, talk some Buffalo Bills. Again, our number is 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. It was funny. Yesterday, come in here, and I get in the studios like more often than not, 8 a.m., This morning I had an appointment, but got in. But the point is, yesterday I come in, 8 a.m., and I'm doing my work upstairs, and then I come down to the studios. And Dandelorian's down here the whole time, and it gets to be like 12:55, and I'm like, Tim's not here yet. And Dan's like, oh, you didn't know? There's no Tim. I'm like, wait a second. Now, did he tell me and I just wasn't listening? Or did Tim just tell Dan, and then Dan didn't tell me? I do know you didn't mention anything to me Monday, so I just want to get to the bottom of this, which is fine. You need to take care of your health. I'm not saying, like, you are a very unhealthy man. So that's
I'm working on it. We're getting there.
You're getting there. So this is, like, step number 1 in the process. Did you tell me you weren't going to be here? I can't.
I did tell you when the appointment was created a couple weeks ago. I did not refresh you on it, but like it's written down in our little system thing, and I mentioned it out loud.
I'm not following you on Outlook. All right, so it's just fine. I just think it's funny that for some reason that just didn't register with me. And Dan did a fine job filling in yesterday, and his take was just fine yesterday. And we'll have Timmy's take coming up here in hour number 1 toward the end of this hour. So let's start with the Sabres, as this is stretching into day number 2, where it's exit interviews, and then players go to the podium. It used to be like you would have like the crowd around the locker, and you're going to the drought era. Probably a few things that kind of stick out from this day annually. Yeah, okay, Sabres get knocked out. Here comes the last check-in with the media. One being Ryan O'Reilly's "I lost my love of the game." Nah, it was very clever there, Ryan. You forged your way to St. Louis, which today that's fine because the return brought us Tage Thompson, right? The other being Jack Eichel, and the season-ending presser. But I think it was on Zoom or, talking about, the neck issue, and that's not the way it works, Paul. The line I remember. Now it's much different, though. Now instead of crowding around somebody's stall as they're cleaning it out, they bring them up to the podium, and they're scheduling this out. So what did we learn today? Hey, surprise, surprise, Tage Thompson wasn't 100%. He said there was a lower back issue he had been dealing with, and I think the eye test there would have told you that. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything in regards to Alex Tuch. Alex Tuch, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and that's, one of the top questions. What do you do with Alex Tuch? And I'm on record saying, yes, the Montreal series was not good. You could say he was the worst player on the ice for the Buffalo Sabres in that series, and notwithstanding like a Logan Stanley or something like that, but in terms of their ability versus what you put out, yeah, Tuch, you don't have to point that out. The man cost himself a lot of money. That's the bottom line. That other GMs in the league will look at that and they'll say, yeah, no, I think we'd rather put our money this direction. Oh, if we do get Alex Tuch, this is the number we wanted at. So, if anything, and I know this is hard, do you feel a little sorry for Alex Tuch? Like, when it mattered most, just for your team and for your family and your future, that's what happened, and it's a tough sport. Maybe we could credit the Montreal checking line on the opposite side for doing what they needed to do. But I do think there's going to be an opportunity for the Sabres to get Alex Tuch perhaps at a number they didn't think they would be able to bring him back at. Now, that might bring some tough decisions. It might prevent you from making the home run swing for a goaltender. And last night, Tim, I was doing a high school game around the Coit Spencerport Lacrosse. Since I'm ready to go on, I get a message. It's DA, Damon Amendola, who joins us, the Bill Maddock podcast. He's like, Gene, let's talk Sabres tonight. Like, let's do it. So that pod, it might be up now. It'll be up soon. So I got to be his guest talking Sabres. And my take on the goaltending situation is this. It's that, of course, Jarmo Kekalainen should investigate the home run swing for the goaltender. Like, could you possibly have a Shesterkin? Could you possibly have a Hellebuck available? And we were joined yesterday by Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period. He said, yeah, they're not available. You might get Jordan Binnington. And okay, like, do we explore that? But barring none of that happening, and they're not free agents. So if they are on the market, hey, guess what? Another team might offer that team something more, and you don't get that player. So it's not all in your control. Why is nobody talking about Devin Levi? Like, if there's another option in Rochester, that would be it. And it's so hard to evaluate with Jacksonville Icemen and guys that were playing D1 hockey, and all of a sudden you cobbled together a lineup for the Amerks, and yet we're going to blame Devin Levi? I think Devin Levi was a good soldier, and I would give him every opportunity to get on that roster next year. And according to my people, I don't have any reason to think that won't be the case. I know there's a report from Merrick that says, he's done with the Sabres. The Sabres are done with him. Whatever it says. Okay, no, that might be going back to what was said prior to last year, where Devin Levi didn't get in Buffalo and he requested a trade. But I think that's one of the more interesting storylines. So we talked a little bit about that. But if you don't get the high-priced goaltender, then I would think you could do what you need to do in terms of re-signing Benson, who's a restricted free agent, or Malenstein, again, a restricted free agent, and an unrestricted guy in Alex Tuch. So these players are coming out one by one, and the pain of a Sabre offseason beginning. And appreciate, if you missed Dennis Bernstein, by the way, yesterday, and like Dan DeLorean said it best, like I could listen to that guy for hours and hours. Yeah, the guy knows hockey. It's up on our app. You can download the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your fine audio. Just Google the Sports Bar, and you'll be able to get that interview and other good stuff too. 585-866-4326. And again, if there's an angle I'm missing on Levi or something like that, I welcome opposing opinions. This is sports. It's just to have fun. What could end up happening is this, and it's another option I was thinking about is there another, gosh, in baseball you call them 4A players, like that's kind of a slang term, like this guy is too good to be in AAA, but he's not good enough to be for whatever reason. He's been around a while. So is there another goaltender that fits in that bucket in the AHL right now, like Devin Levi, where you have a roadblock, and for whatever reason, that player hasn't gotten it up, and maybe for all parties involved, a change of scenery would be welcome. I'm not opposed to that either. I want to give Devin Levi a chance, and if he gets a chance with another organization, okay, but I don't want – here's what I don't want. I don't want the Sabres trading Devin Levi and not having a future plan in goal. I think that's fair. And if you say, well, go draft one, no. Drafting goalies, it takes so long to develop them. This isn't like, oh, wow, 17-year-old Zach Benson, you're really good. Let's keep you on the roster. No, it doesn't work that way. Well, remember Tom Barrasso? Sure I did. 1980s are a fantastic decade. That's how old I am. Drafting a goaltender, it's not like drafting a quarterback in the first round and let's let him work, okay? You need to do it the right way more often than not. Sure, you could find an outlier here or there, but that's why I wouldn't give up on Levi. And if you decided this was the best move, then get something else in return, somebody like that maybe you could perhaps kind of have a pathway. Like, for instance, now this would never ever happen. But what's Montreal's plan? Are they going to keep all three goaltenders like Primo and Fowler? I'm like, oh, that guy, Fowler. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, no, they seem to have a goaltender, and he's in Dubas. What about Primo? Is he really good? Well, he seems to be okay, too. Laval got out really quick. But, again, there's other organizations that have young, talented goaltenders that maybe you could say, hey, for all parties involved, I'm just bringing up Montreal. It would never happen, but where's Devin Levi from? Yeah, I'm sure he would welcome that. Sabres Conference welcome at 866-4326. To the Bills, where I think your headline story is Keon Coleman. And Keon Coleman, talking with reporters yesterday, Tim, do we have Keon Coleman? This from Tuesday at OTAs.
Just trying to put it all together. Potential things, I don't really care to hear them. It's time for me to just put it out down the field. I mean, for me, it's make or break it. Simple as that, simple put, man. I know it, like I said, I know what I'm capable of, so if I fall anything short of that, I'm doing myself a disservice and my team.
Yeah. If you're rooting against Keon Coleman, I would ask you the question, why? It seems like for whatever has happened the last 2 years, we don't have the complete picture, right? How, okay, he was late for a meeting here, he was late for a meeting there. But I guess when you couple that with what you saw on the field or what you didn't see on the field, right? It's that quarterback wide receiver trust. And I go back to something that, and we got to get him back on the show. Stevie Johnson. He's so insightful. If I am a hiring executive, Stevie Johnson is on my short list because you listen to what he says. And Stevie Johnson has friendship, mentor, older brother, however you want to describe it. But now he has a relationship with Keon Coleman because there's certain things when you come into this league you're just not expecting. And what happened, the way Stevie describes it, is after that one, for lack of a better word, slip up and then you're inactive, he was like persona non grata almost in that locker room. No one's talking to you. The world moves on. Bills are winning games, and you're not dressing for a few weeks. And who knows what kind of coaching you are getting. By the way, his wide receiver coach isn't there anymore, so that would help. But why wouldn't you want to give Keon Coleman another chance?
Well, you give him the chance because of the place that he was drafted, right? Like they don't necessarily need to invest in him because they have other options.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So that's why at least he has a self-awareness when that quote is, for me, it's make it or break it. Yep, that's it. Because unless you're showing everything you need to see year over year, they're not going to keep you as a 6 wide receiver. I just don't think they will. I don't, and maybe you get another opportunity with another team, but things move quick. And that's why that is one of the more interesting storylines. And I'll get Sal's thoughts on this. Like, what does he have to do? What does he have to show? Because during training camp last year, it looked great. It did. And just Google, Keon Coleman, Bills training camp 2025. And everybody looks great in shorts, and you're running patterns, and you're like, yes, this is it. But then, and I have it from a couple of sources on this, because when Hard Knocks came through last year, the idea that any team gives unfettered access to Hard Knocks, maybe that's how it was years ago. That is not true anymore. And Keon Coleman was not on the list. They really wanted to keep him away from the cameras. I'm just wondering why is that? A guy who came in with this personality and talking about cookies and the discount coat and everything else like that, and then then we're just gonna kind of not show that personality for a franchise that I think is interesting, where we encourage you to show your personality as long as it's the personality that we agree with. I don't know. Something is missing here in the whole picture with Keon Coleman, and I don't know what it is. But if he goes on the field and just all of a sudden balls out again, and that's where I thought we were headed. I thought during training camp last year, yes. And then you see the opening game against the Ravens. How spectacular was that? 41-40. Coleman had 110 yards receiving that night. Yes, congratulations if you had him in your fantasy lineup. And then what happened after that? Yeah, nothing even close to that. But it's worth noting, big play in the Jacksonville game. Down the right sideline. Not a touchdown, but you beat the coverage. Big play. Big play in the Denver playoff game. Hey, you're catching the pass in traffic, and you're going to worm your way into the end zone. Touchdown. Right over the middle. Okay, those are plays in the biggest games of the season. 2 playoff games on the road. So there's something there. But can this new coaching staff bring it to light? Also, kind of one other note on Keon Coleman. He says Terry Pagula haven't talked, which, believe it or not, I'm okay with. I don't need my owner kind of going out of his way to talk to individual players. You hire a GM, you hire a coaching staff. I kind of like an owner like Terry Pagula where, all right, what resources do we need? Here you go. And sure, he's got his input. But I don't think every owner would be like that or feel the – and Terry said what he said. And can you project the storyline if this all does work out? Are we crediting Terry Pagula? We might. You might hear the coaches say, like, if this ends up being a true 2 or 3. Or the story could just be this. Could be this simple. Many draft picks don't make it in this league. Period. And where we're focusing on some things like being late for a meeting and whatever it is, maybe just everything isn't there that you need to beat zone or man or whatever it is. That it's a incredibly competitive league. So it's a fun storyline. To me, it's one of the tops. We'll get the thoughts of Sal Capaccio. He's joining us here coming up. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is the Sports Bar from the, where were we at, 81 degrees?
Sauna.
Yeah, the hot house here, WGR Rochester.
Sports Update.
Sabres wrap-up meetings continuing today, and one of the top storylines here is soon-to-be free agent Alex Tuck on what's next.
I have my exit meeting today, so I know that Jarmo once again expressed his desire to have me back on the team, and so obviously he'll be in touch with my agent, and that's it. So obviously the next month or so is I'm going to have to make some decisions here.
We'll talk some Buffalo Bills coming up next. Sal Capaccio joining us here in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings tonight playing at Worcester. The Yankees tonight continuing their series at the stadium against the Toronto Blue Jays. Just 2 games in action right now. It's the Phillies leading the Reds 1-0 as they are in the bottom of the first. No score between the Orioles and the Rays also in the first. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
I remember hearing like the commercials around this time last year coming out of Buffalo saying, hey, we've got this fun cruise coming up and we'll celebrate Thurman's 60th birthday, and my gosh, a year goes by quickly. And joining us right now is Sal Capaccio, just back from that cruise. Sal, when you agreed to do that, could you ever imagine that you would be watching Sabres playoff hockey on the cruise? Sal, appreciate the time. How are you doing today, bud?
No, I didn't imagine that. It's so crazy that you mention it like that because, to be honest with you, like, when we put this together, and Sojourn Travel Advisors, Nick Ryberg and Carolyn Ryberg, really amazing job. They got with WGR, and we got involved here and, said, yeah, let's do this. We had all these great things scheduled, including Thurman's 60th birthday, which, pinched me. I mean, me growing up and thinking I'm actually a part of Thurman Thomas's 60th birthday, right? I mean, think about that, right? And then, so as we got closer, we had all these events planned, and all of a sudden the Sabres are doing their thing, and we're like, we got to be able to watch these games. Well, credit to Nick and Sojourn, and credit to Celebrity Cruise Line. That's where we went on Celebrity Beyond, and we were able to do it. And we got it on the big screen up on the deck. We got it inside a club one night. It was amazing, where they do a lot of the events. It was incredible to watch it with so many other Buffalo sports fans, and what an amazing time. It's a great time. I'm really glad that I was a part of it.
Yeah, and before we get to kind of all the Bills questions we have for you, Sal, just your thoughts on the Sabres and what kind of wrapped up. I mean, to me, yeah, I mean, it's a bitter end for sure, but when you look at big picture, how fun is it when a team just all of a sudden exceeds your expectations like the Sabres did this season?
Oh, it's amazing, right? And listen, I mean, I have a 12-year-old son, been going to hockey games, Sabres games for a long time, and it's always been more of we go to the games and we sit around and watch it and it's cool and you root for them when they win, but you're not expecting anything, and it's more of just kind of being there. And, I grew up going to the games at the Odd, and of course, and, going through some battles. I was 10 years old. The same thing happened the other night, which is Brad Parks scored in Game 7 of overtime against the Sabres. I cried myself to sleep that night, and, I've been through some of the heartbreak. My son Max never did. And I would always tell him, buddy, just don't worry. It's going to be so good when they're good, but it never happened, and it finally did. And was able to take him, unfortunately, to the 3 different games they lost, but they lost a lot at home, I guess. And, it was just awesome being there and seeing that crowd and people, younger people like him who've never experienced that, and even much older than him who never have, to, feel what this city is like during playoff hockey. And it was so cool. And to your point of when you're just exceeding expectations, yeah, that makes it fun, right? Like the Bills did maybe in, let's say, 2020 when they won the division and just kind of really took the league by storm, so to speak, the way they were scoring points, and Josh Allen. It was great. And big picture, they're going to be good. They should be. But, man, it still doesn't take away from the fact that you think, geez, they could play with any team left in this field, I think. And I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I also am very, very thankful that we're back to having great playoff hockey in Buffalo. Play hockey in Buffalo and being in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's no complaints here, and if we could get the Amerks playing at the same level too next season, that would be really fun for us here in Rochester. We're talking to Sal Capaccio, Buffalo Bills reporter, WGR. So yesterday being the day that you and other reporters allowed in, and there was some media availability, and I am on record, Sal. I'm pulling for Keon Coleman. I think that whenever he's talking to reporters, he's saying and doing the right stuff. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on what he needs to do here in order to make this team here coming up in 2026?
Well, he's going to make the team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I guess the only question would be that if they were to move him because they do get an offer and they're looking to do that. And I really was of the mindset that they were looking, and who knows, maybe they were. They've never said that, and the indications were they weren't. But I don't know, maybe if Brandon Beane got the right price, he said, he would say, like, let's do that. And maybe that's in the window. I think there's a small chance now. I think this team is fully on board with making it work with Keon Coleman this year. But it's up to this young man now. He has to do the things he's supposed to do. He has to be on time, be where he's supposed to be, show that he's committed to being a professional, the best professional he can be, because that part hasn't happened yet. And then you do have the piece of, is he even good enough to be on the field on a regular basis to help contribute, to a meaningful football and offensive football and winning football for this club? And he's made some big plays, but the catch percentage isn't there. The chemistry with Josh hasn't been there. All this has to come together. I think the Bills are banking on it, or at the very least, they're hoping for it. And, we'll see where it goes here. But I like the fact that he's at least taking ownership right now of everything that's happened so far over those first 2 years. And that's kind of what yesterday sounded like.
I'm trying to picture how these receivers will be used, and I don't know how they'll use a DJ Moore. Like, I can picture Shakir, right? He's a guy in the slot, and you want him kind of being slippery in the yak. But if you're just saying, in theory, are you putting Moore on the outside? Or are you putting Keon Coleman on the inside? How do the pieces kind of line up here for these receivers that all have just a little bit of a different skill set here in Buffalo?
Well, I think they're going to kind of move everybody around because everybody has the ability pretty much on the roster to do that. And that includes DJ Moore going inside and outside. That is one of his best traits. He's very versatile. He's very flexible. You can give him the ball. He's a lot like a Khalil Shakir, but I think of a higher level player overall. But Khalil Shakir can do all that. He could play inside. He could play outside. At his size, you might want him inside a little more, but he's certainly tough, and he has enough speed to get down the field in the outside and beat people, in press coverage. He can do that. We know that. And then Keon Coleman, he can be a matchup nightmare inside, but he's more suited to be an outside receiver. So I don't think we should ever right now put these guys into a box. I mean, maybe you see like a Tyrell Shaver if he comes back from injury and he's an outside receiver, right? He's not playing in the slot. We know that. But I think the guys you're talking about, those three especially, you could really move them around, and then you throw in a Dalton Kincaid and a Dawson Knox at tight end. You throw in a James Cook catching the ball out of the backfield, and you really can kind of be very creative, I think, if you're Joe Brady.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, and again, it's a different coaching staff, but that last wide receiver position, usually you saw somebody like, okay, you can play special teams, and that was Matt Collins, and he ended up providing a nice role at wide receiver. That was Tyrell Shavers, certainly, and Shavers had a few moments at wide receiver. Is there any particular wide receiver out of this bunch right now, Sal, that you would say, okay, this is somebody that I think could make this team based off of special teams?
Well, if Tyrell Shavers is healthy, he is that guy. The question is he healthy enough for training camp? And if he's not, is he healthy enough to start the season? Or does he not go? Does he not participate and they put him on the PUP list? There's an IR. So that relates to your question in this regard, which is if it's not him, I think Trent Sherfield has that opportunity. If you go back and look at Trent Sherfield here in Buffalo a few years ago when he played, he actually did have similar snap numbers to what Tyrell Shavers had. He played 30-something% of special team snaps, 30-something% of offensive, and I think Tyrell was over that last year, but that's your guy. To me, Trent Sherfield is the Tyrell Shavers replacement and insurance if Tyrell Shavers isn't able to play. So I think that's the guy. You're not going to ask Skylar Bell necessarily. He might be asked to do it, I should say, but he's never really done it, and you draft him to be a wide receiver. That's not really what he's here for. McCall Hartman, if he can carve out a role as a return man, then I think McCall Hartman has an opportunity to be that, but it wouldn't be as a gunner like you'd see Tyrell Shavers. It would be more as a return man. So I do think there's a couple of guys who have a couple different roles that could fit into there.
And the last one too, your initial thoughts on Skylar Bell, and we've seen other receivers. And when like we talked about Shakir, well, year one and year two it was there, but he really didn't develop until later. So, Skylar Bell, like, what do you think is the timeline here? How the Bills might bring him along? What do you think of his abilities here as a new Buffalo Bill?
Well, I think he needs to go right in and kind of be inserted. And he's a little different, Gene, than most rookies because he has played 5 years of college football and he's already a little older. He's older than Keon Coleman by almost a year. I don't know if you realize that. Like, he's a guy that has already played a lot of football, and I don't think you have – I mean, I guess you have time in the short term, right? We're talking weeks, but you don't really have time to just wait on him. There's a guy that's got to go play. He's already played 5 years. He's in his mid-20s, 24, I believe. I think you have to look it up, but I think that's what he is. But either way, the point is he's ready to play in the league. The question is, can he play a 17-game season, contribute on a down-to-down basis, and what his role is going to be? And I think the Bills just need to kind of throw him out there and let him show that he can be that guy, because we're going to be wondering about Keon Coleman. And if Keon Coleman can't do those things we just talked about 5 minutes ago, Skylar Bell needs to be able to step into that role to be, I would say, maybe the number 3 receiver on this team.
Yeah, it's great stuff from Sal Capaccio, WGR Buffalo Bills reporter. Sal, since we last talked, the Bills did make a signing, and again, we're going to see guys that'll come in throughout the offseason. Mike Dana, your thoughts on how he might fit? Is he kind of insurance for Michael Hoyt? Do I have a read on that? Like, your thoughts on what Dana might bring to this team?
No, I don't know about insurance for Hoyt. I do think he has an ability to do a few different things. Hoyt, and the reason I say that, Hoyt is just special. He's just different. He can play all over the place. He's a chess piece. Mike Dana can do a little bit of that, but I think you're really looking at a guy who fits more into like a front seven role that's a little bit more provides against the run. An edge setter in that regard, might be able to kind of stand up and provide some pass rush. I think he provides some veteran leadership along the front, no doubt about that, for what, the being with the Kansas City Chiefs and winning games. I'm really interested in how this whole front works. I really am, because, they went out, they signed Bradley Chubb. They drafted T.J. Parker. They're moving Landon Jackson, who, by the way, is a lot bigger, down inside. You have Dwayne Carter coming back from injury, but yet in front of him you still have T.J. Sanders. You still have Deion Walker. You have Ed Oliver coming off an injury, but we think he's going to be really good in this defensive fit. I mean, oh, my God, what do you do with all these guys? Where do they go? And then you look at inside linebacker next to Terrell Bernard. You got Caleb Elarms-Orr, who they really like as a drafted rookie. You have Dorian Williams, who's been with the Buffalo Bills, now going into his 4th year, who's kind of fits that mold of what they want. I'm really interested in the front seven.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do at linebacker too, Sal. I mean, are we sure it's going to be Bernard? And you brought up Dorian Williams, or might we see somebody else like how they brought in Dana? Personally, I want him to – I like the job Shaq Thompson did, and it's hard to kind of say, all right, we don't know what that's all about. But I know there's other guys out there right now that if you're looking for other competition, could be brought in.
From my read of it, Gene, I would say the only way Terrell Bernard is not like a main starter on this team is if he's injured. Terrell Bernard is the guy. He is a captain. They paid him. He's a good player. He dealt with a lot of injuries last year. He talked about that yesterday with us, how tough it was for him, not only physically but mentally, to still be a leader, feel like you're contributing to the team. He even said, and I really appreciate this, he said, look, I grew up in a certain way of playing football where if you can go, you go. And he said, and maybe I have to change that mindset of maybe I hurt myself and the team a little bit by trying to push through some things where I could have given it some time, right? And I think I think Terrell Bernard can be better in this system. I think he will be better as a 3-4 inside linebacker than a 4-3 middle linebacker, because he is smaller. He doesn't have to take on all of those interior guys all the time. And yes, he is the guy. I do not expect them to try and replace him unless injury. I think next to him is very interesting. Dorian Williams, he could be a guy, see ball, get ball. And if you have Terrell Bernard going sideline to sideline, you need a see ball, get ball guy. That's great. But look, they drafted this kid, Caleb Elarms-Orr, who they really like, and I think that he's going to get every look at that.
Sal, you brought up the Ed Oliver injury, and then certainly, yeah, we know Bernard was banged up too last year, and I think it's one of the overlooked things, in my opinion, from the end of last year. That team, like, my gosh, they were beat up. 2 wide receivers with ACLs, and we just go down the list. And now it's spring. Just kind of generally, how is everybody doing health-wise? Are there any concerns amongst the guys that were hurt that are still on the roster here this spring?
Sure, there's a lot of concern because they're not back yet fully, right? And everybody's kind of, figuring out what the timeline is. We see Michael Hoyt on the side running and doing. Before we went out to the field yesterday. He was doing the medicine ball. He was doing explosions off the Achilles and throwing the ball, and then he was sprinting. It was amazing. And I'm like, wow, this guy looks very encouraging. But who knows what his timeline is and where he's going to be. Then you have Landon Jackson coming off his injury last year, his knee injury, but he's playing. He's practicing right now, which is great. Dwayne Carter missed all last year with a torn Achilles. He's playing. That looks really good. Who else? Khalil Shakir had a foot procedure or an ankle or something happened in the offseason, but he's out there and he's practicing, he's playing. That's great. And of course, Josh Allen, the foot surgery, but he's out there and he's playing. So there's, of course, going to be a lot of the questions that Oliver's coming off an injury. We'll see, where he is right now. And with all that, he wasn't out at practice yesterday. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of question marks, Gene, but we won't know a lot of this except for the timelines when we see them through the OTAs and mini camps and training camp.
Yeah, the Kincaid story too, and again, it seems that seems like something that's positive. Now, something that I don't want to say was a red flag, but it kind of got my attention. And you were out in Arizona where there was some talk about how do you manage his reps, and I'm thinking, is this something that is kind of chronic? And no, he didn't need surgery, Sal. So give us kind of your opinion. What did you see out of Dalton Kincaid yesterday? What could like a healthy Dalton Kincaid provide for this offense?
Well, he looks bigger again for the second year in a row, which is good. I think, at his position and what they ask him to do and being on the field a lot, he's got to block a little bit more, and that's good. Back in Arizona when it was talked about and managing reps and things, I think a little too much was made of that from people because, and I get it, I took it as meaning off-season reps. I took it as meaning OTAs, training camp, get ready for the season. Some people took it as already during the season, they're going to manage his reps. I don't think so. I think when the season comes, we'll see where he is. But right now, let's make sure he's in a good spot to start the season by managing his reps during OTAs, managing his reps during training camp, and you might see a day off here or there. And I think that's what they were talking about. He elected not to have surgery. There were a lot of people questioning that. Why didn't he have surgery? Maybe he should have done that. He said he consulted a lot of doctors, team doctors around the league, good doctors, people who know a lot about the PCL. He said he took their advice that he didn't need surgery and it should let it heal on its own. But here's how you strengthen it. You do this, you do that. Well, I see him yesterday. He's got no sleeve on. He's got no brace on. That's great. After he tells us that, I said, well, I just want to make sure it wasn't something he was looking for that answer, right? Sometimes you can look for an answer and you just take what, until you get it, you get second and third opinions. But I said, well, Dalton, if they had told you do need surgery, would you have done that? And he said, absolutely. I just listened to the doctors, and that was their determination, basically.
Yeah, Sal Capaccio, WGR, practice open to the media. Yesterday's OTAs kind of continuing. I'm going to ask you about a competition, or maybe it's not even a competition. Is this position still going to mean something? One of the players that left, and I will never fault a player if they get a better opportunity and more money. I love what Reggie Gilliam brought to the Buffalo Bills, just going about his work, special teams, like big factor in this season that Ray Davis had. And now Reggie Gilliam's in New England. How do the Bills fill that position? Or maybe the fullback position is getting phased out with some of these names, Jackson Acker, Ben Van Sumeren, maybe we're not familiar with, but maybe we do get familiar with it. Your thoughts on how the Bills go about replacing a Reggie Gilliam, Sal?
Well, Reggie's going to be tough to replace. He's a really good player, and he was a lead blocker for the league's leading rusher last year, James Cook, right? But he was also only on the field for, less than 25% of the snaps, I think. So it's not like you're losing a guy that was on the field, 3/4 of the time. That's not the case. But he was super good at that role when he was on there, and he's a really, really good special teams player as well. So losing a lot. That said, a lot of people compare Jackson Acker's game to him. Jackson Acker played at Wisconsin, so he's familiar. So Jim Leonard's familiar with him. People believe that he could be that type of player, real good special teams player, lead blocker, maybe can contribute in the passing game even a little bit. Then you have Ben Van Sumeren, which his story is really incredible. This guy was in Michigan, one of the top high school receivers in the state of Michigan coming out. He gets recruited by Michigan, goes there to play running back. He played receiver, running back, and quarterback in high school, okay? And he was a really great athlete. Goes to Michigan, plays running back at Michigan. After like a year or two, gets moved to linebacker, transfers to Michigan State, plays linebacker, has a really good, he plays, I think, 5 years. His senior year was very good. Undrafted free agent by the Eagles, plays linebacker there, then gets moved back to the offensive side to play fullback, but also special teams. And he is the guy last year on the opening night. You had the Eagles and the Cowboys playing opening night season last year, he had a knee injury on the opening kickoff. That same play that was the spitting incident that happened, that was the young man who his season ended on that play.
Sal, one more for you, and to me it's not old news talking about the schedule because – and I love the bit everybody does with, Howard picks the Bills. And, it's hard to kind of envision how the league is going to play out in November, December, January for that matter. But the beginning of the season, okay, I think we have kind of an idea. And my question to you is about that Houston opener because I think for the Bills you want a 3-1 start the first 4 games, right? Well – if you don't get that Houston game, it's a lot to ask to sweep your next 3 against 3 quality teams in Detroit and then 2 teams that made the playoffs last year in the Chargers and the Patriots. So my question is about Houston. You've been there before. Why is that such a hard place for the Buffalo Bills to play at?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's loud. I mean, a lot of places are loud. I just think it's the structure of the Houston Texans, and especially recently how they can get after the passer. And when you're in that loud environment and you put your guys on an island like the Bills did last year with Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, it makes it even tougher, right? I just think they have the type of team that gives the Bills fits. It's not necessarily the environment. I mean, it is, right? It helps to play there for them. It's not the stadium. It's not Houston. It's the team. It's who they're playing against. They have good players. And I think it's the structure of defense that they play. D'Amico Ryans is a fantastic defensive coach. And I know it goes back before him even. And, they've given up on the other side of the ball a few big plays here or there. Nico Collins a couple of years ago. Last year before the 2-minute warning, the touchdown they gave up and driving down the field. And listen, they've been in these games. It's been close, but the Bills have just made the critical mistakes when they shouldn't. And now they get to go there week 1. And I actually like the fact they're playing week 1. If you look, I think, at the Houston Texans history recently, they're better as the season goes on. They get a little bit better as the season goes on. So, they're going through some changes as well, offensive line especially, I think, and maybe chemistry-wise, first week of the season, maybe you can catch them at a better time, and, we'll see where it goes. That's a tough opener, you're right, and then you come home with the Lions. Interesting to open the season with the Lions, open the stadium with the Lions' first game there. Certainly a worthy opponent of all the ones they play, but Thursday Night Football is very interesting for them to be the choice for that for the opening night in the stadium. And then, of course, you get a couple of home games in September in the new stadium, which I really like on a Sunday afternoon. I think that's going to look great.
Yeah, I'm excited to step foot into that new stadium. Sal, always appreciate your time. We're going to be looking forward to reports. And, look, Hamilton jokes about this whenever we have him on. WGR Rochester, your proud affiliate. Like, what's the next market WGR is taking over? Syracuse, Erie, where are you headed to next year?
We're everywhere, right? We're doing everything. I apologize. You cut out for a second. I didn't hear your full question.
It was just kind of a joke because we're WGR Rochester and Hamilton says, I can't wait to take over Erie here. I'm to be
honest with you, the reason you cut out partly was I lost my train of thought too because you said Hamilton. I literally thought you were talking about Paul Hamilton.
I was, yeah. When Paul Hamilton comes on the WGR Rochester, he's like, hey, I can't wait to be on WGR Syracuse or WGR wherever.
Okay, so. Well, then I was thinking after you asked the question, you were talking about WGR Hamilton, like Hamilton, Ontario.
And I'm like, that could be it too.
Because maybe that's where we go.
Yeah, that would sound
there
good.
You go, buddy.
Yeah, everything's good. Sal, appreciate the time, bud.
All right, you got it, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks. Sal Capaccio joining us here in the Sports Bar. Right before we went to that interview, I got an email with an offer that is jaw-dropping. Something I never, ever thought would happen. And going back to 1.0, we would joke about it in the show, like, this is never happening. Never happening for us. Hey, we do a show over here. Woo, woo, woo. And this is exciting because actually this is going to involve all of us here in the Sports Bar. I will explain. We'll get to it here in a second. I told Timmy, and Timmy's like, really, you're kidding? I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. We made it. So we'll figure this out. Look, you can already tell I'm going to say, yeah, we're doing this. We're full bore. We're doing this. I can't believe it. We've got our guy, PJ Glasser, joining us here. Maybe PJ's brother had something to do with it. If you're a listener to the show, that's the clue what this is all about. Okay, we'll explain that coming up. Your calls is welcome as well at the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
WCAM, WBEE, HD2 Rochester, and everywhere you go at WGR Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester Sports Update.
One team wrapping things up, another one getting going here, getting ready for the season. The Buffalo Bills. New head coach Joe Brady on OTAs.
It's been a lot of fun, kind of seeing them kind of all come together, seeing a lot of the new faces, kind of how they kind of fit, right? Seeing them be able to get back out on the field. So I'm excited about where we're at. You got to set the foundation and be smart about not putting too much in initially and then kind of ramp it up as we go at end of OTAs and the training camp. So it's been cool to be a part of the installation process.
Meanwhile, exit meetings continuing today for the Buffalo Sabres as the players will leave for their off-season. Rochester Red Wings continue their series tonight in Worcester, Mass. On the Major League scoreboard, just a few games today on a getaway Wednesday. We've got Philadelphia trailing Cincinnati 3-1 there in the middle of the third. Orioles and Rays tied at 1 in the third. No score between the Astros and Twins. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have things much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres, Bills, Americans, Red Wings, and Nighthawks. Sports bar for Rochester Sports Talk.
I am absolutely stunned with something that came across during the show. Checked my email during a commercial break. I'm like, you're kidding me. Welcome back here to the Sports Bar. We've got Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day. We've got PJ Glasser coming up. We got a bunch of stuff that we haven't gotten to. The exit interviews with the Sabres. They sit down individually with each player. They map out an off-season plan, and then it's off. And you enjoy your summer there, and the bitter end for the Buffalo Sabres. But now we're just kind of moving on, and you see a bright future with the Sabres. You compare that to the Buffalo Bills, where we're all looking at our watch, saying, "All right, it's a time, guys. Let's go for this." And the thing is, can we enjoy a Bills season and victories? And we're going to try to do that as we normally do in the Sports Bar. Play some Bruno Martino, enjoy every victory. I don't think the Bills are all of a sudden going to become a sub-500 team if Josh Allen's healthy, right? They will be in the mix for a playoff spot once again. The question is, all right, what seeding do they get, and how do they get to a Super Bowl? In football, seeding for the playoffs matters. Not as much in hockey. Sure, it helped the Sabres because it helped them avoid Montreal in the first round, right? You would have had to face Montreal or Tampa. But in the end, you're winning on the road. Home ice doesn't matter as much. Home field advantage in the NFL means a little bit more than it does in football. 585-866-4326. All right, before we get to the stunning news, again, we're backed up here in the Sports Bar. This is where we clear the dance floor for Tim Schneider.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
I was very nervous when you opened the show because you damn near stole my take, but we didn't get all the way there.
I don't thieve any takes. It's that here's what's happening, Tim. You are listening to me, and you are now I'm influencing you.
No, sure, you have influenced me, but this one was almost word for word at the beginning. It tailed off a little bit, but we heard him talk in a previous update. You mentioned it earlier. Alex Tuck cost himself about $30 million.
Yep.
Over this last series with Montreal. And while that stinks for him, it might benefit the Buffalo Sabres because, like you mentioned, the number that he wants is not something that they're willing to give. The number that he now probably earned is something that is more palatable for the Buffalo Sabres. But the point here is if they opt to go somewhere else with that and spend the money somewhere else, they are going to be just fine because of people like Constantine Helenius, who came up and contributed immediately. People like Noah Osland, who were not available in this series. People like Yuri Kulik, who was not even available the entirety of the playoffs. There are people ready to come up from Rochester who've already contributed with the Sabres that make Alex Tuck expendable to some extent. And if not, that's a good contract.
I will listen to that. And the idea that, all right, what did you need at the trade deadline this year? Look, we need a little muscle on the blue line. And you did. And that's what you needed in the Boston series. Montreal was like neither here nor there, like Shen and Stanley. But are veterans like an Alex Tuck going to be available at the trade deadline? Like, can you just win enough games with young kids and then see what you need? Like, we like Alex Tuck because he's one of us. He grew up a Sabre fan. He's from Syracuse, for folks who don't know, Baldwinsville. Like, you want a guy that sticks around. So will he take the hometown discount? Days of, here's Jeff Skinner, take a 7-year deal and all this cash. No. So if it's something short-term for Alex Tuck, hell yeah. Like Dennis Bernstein on Monday, Tim, 1 year, $10 million he threw out? Or that was yesterday. 1 year, $10 million. Okay, that could be something that you could work with. It's the question of is that goaltender going to be available? And we might not know that. So July 1st, okay, let me just lay the ground rules here in Sports Bar 2.0. Just like in 1.0. Ready? July 1st. Spare me your damn Bobby Bonilla jokes, okay? Ha, 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 ha. Did you know it's Bobby Bonilla today? Ha, ha. Like, I never heard of that. Never, ever heard of that. Because every single July 1st, I get your direct messages. I see them all. And Tim, I don't want anything from you this year on that.
Actually, I think I'm on your side with it. It's actually a smart contract. It's how baseball is done now. It's these deferred deals are smart. It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
He was ahead of his time. It just makes the Mets look silly.
It makes the Mets look silly, and because the Mets haven't had a World Championship since 1966, it's management's fault for giving Bobby Bonilla. But I do think that the new owner there, Cohen. He's not that new anymore. But the idea that he came out and was like, hey, you know what? Let's just kind of make a day of it. It's Bobby Bonilla Day, and they come, and you know how, like, whenever you give a check to charity, you have to have that big old fake check?
Yeah.
And you have the photo up with the big old fake check. I think Bobby Bonilla should do that. Like, go out there with a big old fake check.
You've got to own the bit. I agree with you.
Yeah, let's kind of do it. 585-866-4326. All these years of hosting the Sports Bar,
is this worthy of the? I'm going to do it.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
We've been asked to throw out the first pitch of the Rochester Red Wings game.
So in.
What? Now, this is the part where I'm like, do they even know that what our show is all about? This was, hey, the Red Wings want to know if you can throw out the first pitch at a game. June 17th matinee or Friday, June 19th. We will give tickets on your show to give away to listeners. Yes.
Never been more in.
Yes. 1,000% yes. We would always say, look, we're not asking for a bobblehead. We're not asking for any, like, special promotion like that. I'm not Uncle Phil. I'm not John DiTullio. All right? But we just wanted to, like, we're doing a Rochester Sports Talk show. Can we just throw out the first pitch for one game? And this goes back years, Tim, where I'm just sitting at the game, and it's a random Friday night, and out there, it's 98.9 The Buzz night. And apparently Sandy Waters couldn't make it, or Scott Spazzano couldn't make it. Dem Jones couldn't make it. When we had Marty Casper with us, she couldn't make it. Whoever we were traffic report, I'm like, okay, like, and they're like, and from 98.9 The Buzz, Kaylee Beebe. I'm like, wait a second, that's a promotion person. She's, I told Danger, like, are they ever going to ask us? He's like, no, I don't even think they're going to ask us. Never, ever, ever. Wow, I cannot believe that. Okay, so look this up. Who's in town that week?
It's the Toledo Mudhens, the affiliate of the Detroit Tigers.
All right, so okay, they could be anybody.
Scooble on rehab, maybe.
Ooh.
That is a possibility around that timeline.
Ooh. See, I'm saying this without saying yes to the email first. Like, I honestly, I assume that's a dumb deal. If they are asking me on email, will we throw out the first pitch at a Rochester Red Wings game? The answer is yes.
Absolutely, positively.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I'm going to the game anyways. Now, the thing is, Tim, have I ever done this before? The answer is no. Have I thrown off a mound before? The answer is yes. Yes, my son and I, while he was growing up, we'd go over to the high school fields and we would just have fun, just kind of like that. That's the whole beauty of it. Move the tarps on the field, put them back, everything would be good. This is different when, okay, I've got to do this. Like, who's on the other end of that? Is it going to be Spikes or Mitzi? Or
Makes it a little easier.
Or is it going to be you?
We've got some planning to do, I guess.
Yeah, Dan DeLorean, get in here. Like, honestly, he should be part of this too. Like, it should
absolutely.
be like, it's going to be like the sports bar takeover, on, at a Red Wing game. That would be, Scooble. That would be impossible to predict, though. If they had the option of the two, I wouldn't have any clue when they would start the rehab there.
Yeah, that might not even, he might not even be into that at that point because it was I think an 8-week injury and we're 3 weeks in, so it's right around that. But they might not put a rehab assignment on the road either. They want to kind of control that.
Well, they did it with Cole.
That is true.
Yeah, it's like they want to get him back. They want to just make sure you're doing this at the first. And the new rules are you should be doing your rehab at AAA. Like, not every team does that, but that's kind of like the agreement, right? That you're not just going to send a guy to AA, but sometimes that's a rule that everybody kind of ignores, I suppose. So that's exciting, and as soon as we get the official deal buttoned up on that, and that would have been part of the deal too. Like, I'm not doing that if we can't give away tickets on the show, if we can't invite people to come along with us, and that's going to be one fun thing. So 585-866-4326. I cannot believe it. We've been doing a local show here on our station since the year 2016. So it's had a few different variations over the years. Now we're on 1 to 3, and for the first time in 10 years, we're getting asked to throw out the first pitch of the Rochester Red Wing game. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Dan Mason. We accept with bells on it, as they would say. One thing we haven't talked about here, Tim. 7:49 to go. The Knicks are down by 22.
You know who was there last night? Danhausen.
Yes.
Danhausen cursed the Cavs.
Did he actually go into MSG in costume? They allowed him in costume, like the AI photo.
I don't know why you got to poo-poo the wrestling part. It's not a costume. It's Danhausen.
I thought he lifted the curse of the Mets.
He did. Look at what they're doing now. They're almost 500 again.
Oh, yay.
Well, they were so far down. They've done very well. The Knicks got uncursed as well. Historic.
Like, Peyton Manning gets credited for being one of the most brightest minds in football, right? Well, is this brightest mind, or just sometimes the answer is so obvious? Do the obvious thing. And when Peyton Manning would see a corner, and that corner was flailing, and they wouldn't sub him out, you would see repeated targets. Okay, I'm going to Harrison again. You're going to guard, bam, bam, bam. Like it would be the read that he knew was too easy. And that was last night. Like, James Harden, he can score a lot of points. He can't play a lick of defense. Like, just how Cleveland allowed James Harden on the floor when you're up by 22. Like, that's an offensive-defensive substitution, is it not? And Jalen Brunson abused James Harden. And for a lot of folks, including myself, James Harden represents what's wrong in basketball, how Brooklyn became the story for all those years, all that wasted talent. James Harden won an MVP with Houston, never got over, right? James Harden got paid a lot of money by the Clippers and somehow couldn't make that work and wind his way out. But everything's going to be fine. This is the missing ingredient for Cleveland. I thought it was hilarious. Because I get home last night, and I'm doing the pod with DA, which I'll tweet that out later, talking about the Sabres. And, like, I'm looking at my phone like, this is not going well. Like, Nick's Twitter they are just assassinating their own team. Like Philadelphia fan, we hate our own. No, New York fans like, oh no, this isn't it. This isn't it. ESPN stats and info had the Cavs winning it. Their win probability with 8 minutes to go, 99.9%. So the Knicks somehow found that 1/10%, right? That's what they found last night. And the Knicks steal game one. That is awesome, and I think it's hilarious. And, if the Knicks take game two, maybe we get to, like, Memorial Day. Let's just check this out, Tim. Like, and again, we don't want any Knicks fan. That arena is going to be taken over in Cleveland. Quicken Loans Arena, that's going to be totally. What is the get-in price for Monday?
$150.
I got $149 here, Timmy. $149 Memorial Day.
I'll go with you.
That's unbelievable. That's an embarrassment for the NBA, right? Is there any league which has a championship round, a price that low to get in? Like, people, why is that? Well, because Cleveland fans are like, oh man, this isn't real.
For comparison's sake, game 2 in MSG, $689.
But then again, tonight, San Antonio OKC, $196. Now that's quality basketball tonight. Like, okay, are they really worried about OKC falling behind 2-0? That first game went to double overtime. This is where I think the NHL has a chance. Because people, I think, are finally wising up. Like, who has the better postseason? It's not even a question. It's not a debate. I'm not hating on the NBA. But you have to understand that the NBA, how they draw it out, and how there's a lot of fluff teams in there. It's just the nature of the sport of hockey that things kind of balance out, right? There's so much talent in the NBA, but when you get teams that are tanking and then playing games that no one cares about, and then first-round matchups where rarely you get an upset, and now finally we get to something, but even the Eastern Conference Final kind of feels like it's over. If Cleveland won last night, okay, this is interesting. Now, not so much. I think unless you're going to – like every time James Harden's on defense, what is that crowd in New York going to be like? They're going to be laughing hysterically. And where I thought – where I might be wrong, Tim, I said, okay, originally at the beginning, I said this, Oklahoma City Knicks, that's going to be the final, and OKC will win it for. Maybe it will be Wembanyama. Maybe the Spurs are going to be – yeah, that is – yeah, absolutely. Like, okay, he's the best player not on the planet right now. So, NBA tonight, game 2, that's going to be on NBC and Peacock tonight. And then you get the San Antonio OKC game 2 for the Knicks and Cavs tomorrow night. That is on ESPN. 585-866-4326. PJ Glasser, who now maybe it's PJ. We got to ask him this. Maybe it's his brother, who is a new intern with the Rochester Red Wings, that said, hey, why don't you have the guys on from GR Rochester throw out the first pitch?
Yeah, I'm curious because one of the options you said was a Wednesday afternoon, and PJ's our guy on Wednesday, so maybe he's got a direct hand in it.
Maybe he is, or maybe just the promotions director really has no idea what time we're on the air.
That's possible.
I mean, it's possible. It's like that could be it too. We'll figure out the date officially. It'll be some date when the Mud Hens are in town in the month of June. That should be exciting for sure. When the PGA came to Rochester, at the end of it, we're like, wow, all right, we did a good job. When it came to the execution of the tournament, and Mother Nature was okay with us, wasn't perfect, but you know what? It ended up being fine for Sunday, and we had a competitive finale that at the time he was with Liv, but, Brooks Koepka, that's a name, and that was interesting, and Rochester got kudos for that, right? So to do my Lucy and Ricky, explain to me this. So this past PGA Championship with a leaderboard that was the final round posted its highest TV rating in 5 years. Why? Why is that? And maybe it is, and I haven't researched this, but this is my working theory on this. What was the counter programming in each of the final rounds the past 5 years when it came to the NBA, or maybe an NHL game, or whatever it is that's on the calendar that could have pulled you away? Now, This year, hey, you had Yankees Mets. We didn't even talk anything about this. Baseball tried to build it up as whatever.
Oh, yeah,
rivalry.
dumb.
Come on. Stop with that. Just play your schedule. I'm not going out of my way because, oh my gosh, it's rivalry week. Yay. No, it's like, okay, Yankees Mets are on, but what was it in the past 5 years? Because really the PGA Championship, kind of up against nothing on Sunday. Kind of a fact. So I don't know what the answer to that was. Why that you had this no-name leaderboard post its highest TV rating in 5 years. It wasn't like the market that, the championship was in was over the top. One other note, too, because I love these. We're going to continue to talk a lot of fantasy football when we get there. It's only May 20th, right? But to me, Memorial Day weekend, that might be like, if I get a minute, I might be like starting to think of mock drafts and everything. But we still have business from yesteryear. And what has become very popular is the NBA should look at something like this, because the NBA has a problem with tanking. The NBA has a problem with teams that aren't trying, and what should the penalty be? And they don't have an answer. My answer is look to your friends from fantasy football, because how this, I think, originated was we're all in a league, right, where, hey, you are competitive, but there's going to be one or two teams that just, okay, I'm not in this. And they don't even set a lineup. They're playing players that went on IR. That doesn't help. It doesn't help anybody. And to try to prevent against that, you want to be in the league. If you finish dead last, there's a shame penalty, for lack of a better thing. The shame penalty where, hey, I've got to go tell people I'm bad at fantasy football. One of the shame penalties, and this is a little over the top, where the story from a couple years ago where somebody had to fly around the country, started in Hartford, ended in Hartford, but went from Hartford to Philadelphia to Miami. You think about the tab for that, and that's wasted money. I don't have that. And it's wasted time, too. I mean, but that was like, that got a lot of coverage. Like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Why would somebody do that? Why? I couldn't, Tim, if you finish last, I'd never do that to you.
Thank you. I don't finish last, though.
This was last night where, just again, Red Sox at the Royals. And it's a Tuesday night game, right? Kansas City's not selling out, even for the Red Sox. And you go to the upper deck there at Kauffman Stadium, and there is some guy with letters spelled around him. Let me make sure I get this right. Yeah, I stink at fantasy football. And he had to sit up there, for an inning there with all this around in a section that is so apparently you can go up there, nobody's shooing him away, and he's sitting up there and some of the cameras get it, and all of a sudden he becomes a talking point, and it becomes one of these stories. Now that I can get behind. Publicly shaming somebody that finishes in last place.
We hit the breaking news sounder on ourselves a little while ago. I've got another one for you.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Lindy Ruff has signed a 2-year extension with the Buffalo Sabres.
Fantastic. Well, that puts a rest of that. DA asked me, like, we sure Lindy's going to be out? Like, no, Lindy's having fun. Lindy's into this team. Lindy is Buffalo. How many people get a second chance in a market where you came so close? And Lindy is living that. And I said this at the time when he got fired by the Devils. Would you bring back Lindy in a New York minute? Now, were there bumps along the way? Yeah. Did we think it was going to work out all the way? Not sure. But this is great news. Not that and Seth Appert's going to be fine. Seth Appert will get a chance in this league. If you're a team that has a bunch of young kids and you're willing to give a runway and do it the right way, Seth Appert should be your guy. But Lindy Ruff right now, head coach, Buffalo Sabres. Tim, that is certainly worthy of breaking news. PJ Glasser, did he have a hand in this? We'll have to ask him. Our betting expert joining us next. You can join us on the other side of that. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 866-4326. Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester.
is an equal opportunity employer.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
News just coming across that Buffalo Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff, he's not going anywhere. Ruff has agreed to a new deal. It's a 2-year contract extension. One of the big questions this offseason, soon-to-be free agent Alex Tuck. Tuck on what's next?
I have my exit meeting today, so I know that Jarmo once again expressed his desire to have me back on the team, and so obviously he'll be in touch with my agent, and that's it. So obviously the next month or so is I'm going to have to make some decisions here.
Rochester Red Wings continuing their series tonight in Central Massachusetts, taking on the Woo Sox. On the Major League scoreboard, the Reds up on the Phillies 4-1. They're in the middle of the fifth. Orioles and Rays tied at 1. Also in the fifth, Astros and Twins tied at 1. They're in the third. Jays and Yankees tonight in the Bronx. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Raising the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
Yeah, every once in a while you get something that completely unexpected. And after 10 years here doing this show on these frequencies, we've finally been asked. We're honored to be throwing out the first pitch for a game coming up in June against Toledo. And joining us on the phone is one PJ Glasser. And I'm producer Tim Schneider and I were trying to connect dots here. Like, oh my gosh, why did the invite come all of a sudden to us? And then maybe, PJ, did your brother have anything to do with this? PJ, how are you today? We're going to be throwing out the first pitch of the Wings game, bud.
Gene, that is awesome. Congratulations. I hope you're already starting to practice a little bit. I hope you shake off the catcher if he wants a fastball. Maybe you throw in a change-up, curveball, you paint the black on the corners. I'm looking forward to that. I don't think he has that much pull within the organization, but unfortunately, that's pretty cool, Gene. When in June is it going to be?
Well, we're trying to figure out the date. They gave us 2 dates, and one of them is during a matinee. I'm like, well, does this mean we get to do our show from the stadium? Which, sign me up for that.
Oh.
So, I don't know when that would be. And then on top of it, and Tim brought this up, it's Toledo. Does this time out where we could get a Scooble rehab appearance, PJ?
Oh, could you imagine that? That would be pretty sweet, Gene. That would be pretty sweet. I don't know if we can bet minor league baseball, but the day that you throw out the first pitch, Gene, I'm absolutely betting the house on Rochester that day. No doubt about it. I need a line for that game, Gene. I need one.
Yeah, like we don't like prop bets, but will I paint the black? You better believe I paint the black, PJ. We're a confident bunch here. PJ Glasser, who for folks, let me just kind of back up. Your brother, who goes to Ithaca, is going to be helping out the Wings with an internship, and we've got to have him come. We're just a couple blocks away. Just when he gets settled in, just have him hang out with us one afternoon in the sports bar. It'd be fun to have him on on a Wednesday where PJ joins us and gives us his thoughts here on some of the action, how we can enjoy these games at a kind of different level. PJ, you hear from time to time on the Westwood One Sports Network, doing a great job. PJ Glasser, our guest here. PJ, the NBA feels like it didn't get going here until the last 2 nights here. So game one for both these games, certainly entertaining. Your thoughts on both the Western and the Eastern Conference Finals and how we started off here?
I mean, you can't ask for much more, Gene. In both of those game ones, just unbelievable. The Knicks last night with one of the all-time great comebacks. All those people that I'm sure turned off the game last night with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and then woke up this morning to seeing the Knicks won must have been something. And then the Spurs OKC, I mean, I tweeted it out, Gene. That was one of the better NBA games I feel like we've seen in the last decade. I think this might be the highest level of basketball we've seen since maybe those Warriors, Cavs, NBA Finals. Like, those teams are just so good. Wemby is so good. And what's scary is how young both of those teams are, especially the Spurs. I mean, Wemby's 22. Dylan Harper's only 20 years old. Vassell, Stephon Castle, like, all these guys are in their low 20s. Like, it's crazy how they're not even in their prime yet and the potential of how good they can possibly be. So at Cleveland, I truly don't know how you bounce back from that last night.
No.
What a gut punch that is. It feels like they're pretty much cooked in that series. And the Spurs OKC, I mean, the Thunder finally lose a game in the postseason. I think most of us felt like that was going to be a 6 or 7 game, and it certainly looks like after the game one that we saw, we could be heading in that direction.
Yeah, I'm looking at the line tonight, and if I was just kind of guessing, we're doing the blind taste test, right? What would be the line here? And I would have thought, all right, OKC's the favorite, certainly, maybe 5 or 6. I'm looking at OKC favored by 7.5. He's like, oh, that must be the Spurs. I'm like, now I'm tapping the brakes here. Obviously, I'm like, okay, what are they telling us there? They expect the Thunder here comfortably here tonight. PJ, what is your play here in game number 2?
Yeah, well, a good trend that we have tonight, Gene, which you would expect, is teams that are favored in game 2 who lost the first game outright. They're 21-11 against the spread the last 5 seasons. That's hitting at about a 66% clip. They're 2-1 so far in this postseason, which makes sense. Team who's home and favored loses game 1. They know they can't go down 0-2 and then go on the road, so they pretty much just unleash everything in game 2, and they tend to win and they tend to cover. So I think a lot of people probably going to be on Oklahoma City tonight. I think that's probably the way I would lean in the game 2, Gene, is I would probably lay it with the Thunder if I had to play it. I mean, we saw it with OKC and the Knicks. Both those teams had those long layoffs and how rusty and shaky they were in those games. It felt like, I mean, OKC really should have won that game towards the end. If Wemby doesn't hit that 3 from like 35 feet, then they end up winning. I think they'll play much better tonight. I think the Spurs really used up a bunch of energy in game 1. They would obviously love to go up 2-0, but the mission's really already accomplished for them. Get a split, home court. They did it without De'Aaron Fox, so they get him back, and he's now a little bit healthier, missing that game 1. So I think the Thunder are the right side in the game tonight at -7.5. But, Gene, I think the better bet is right now, if you look at the series lines, it's a pick-em. OKC and the Spurs are both -110 to win the series. So I would, instead of just betting the spread tonight or maybe taking OKC in a money line parlay, I would just bet the Thunder to win the series at -110 because I still think, even though it's going to be a long series, I still think they're going to win.
Yeah, I think we are all hoping for a long series, right? Because as you said, that's quality basketball, and you could always say, all right, that's a real NBA Finals right there. Okay, fine. But I do feel more like the Eastern Conference, like Cleveland had their chance, and they blew it. So how do you think the Cavs respond here from the betting standpoint? PJ, I'm looking at the Knicks favored by 6.5. The over-under set at 215.5. What would be your play tomorrow night at the Garden?
Gene, I'm pretty surprised that the Knicks aren't a bigger favorite in this game, and maybe they take some money tomorrow before we tip off. But this was the closing line for yesterday, was Knicks -6.5. You would have thought if the Cavs would have won that game, maybe the Knicks would be a 7.5, 8-point favorite. But with Cleveland losing the way that they did, I just don't know how you can make that line the same as it was in game 1. They got to be so rattled emotionally. I mean, it's just in that locker room, it feels like, what do we have to do to get a win? We were up 22 points with 8 minutes to go, and we can't win the game. The Knicks, again, off that long layoff, and Anunoby was back. It just feels like they were shaking off a little rust, and then they found something in the fourth quarter. Clearly, they were attacking that Brunson matchup when he was getting the switch, and he was going one-on-one with Harden. So, Gene, it feels similar to last year's Eastern Conference Final, where the Knicks were up 13 with 4 minutes to go. The Pacers have that crazy comeback. Halliburton hits that 3 to send it to overtime. And then the Knicks can't rebound from that, and the Pacers end up winning the series. It kind of feels like the same thing with this. The Cavs were already an underdog heading in, needed to win that game last night for them to just choke that away. They had a 99.9% chance to win that game. I don't know if you saw that, but 99.9, and they lose it. So I don't want any part of Cleveland tomorrow night. I think it would be the Knicks or pass for me.
Yeah, PJ Glass, our guest here in the Sports Bar. PJ, one NBA note that I neglected to ask you last week. And if I had to pick like one franchise that I don't think about, I don't know if anybody thinks about, no offense, it's the Wiz, right? The Washington Wizards won the NBA draft lottery. PJ, are people excited about Wizards basketball down the Beltway?
Gee, people are fired up about Wizards basketball. I think we're excited because, I mean, we've just been so bad for so long. They've never had a 50-win season in their franchise history, which seems impossible. But they've been so bad for so long. I think what people are excited about, Gene, is that obviously the draft class is loaded. Debanza could be a potential superstar, but it's also the pieces in place that they have around him. I mean, Trae Young could still be, an all-star quality point guard. Anthony Davis is the big question mark, whatever happens with him. But some of the young guys they have too, with Sarr and Koulibaly and Keyshawn George. So they got this nice mix of veterans and young talent, and now it looks like they're going to get their cornerstone with Debanza or Peterson, or whoever they end up drafting. And not only that, but it's like they're in the Eastern Conference. So it's like you look at the West, Gene, you look at OKC and the Spurs, and if you're anybody else in the West, it's like, how are we going to beat these teams for the next decade? In the Eastern Conference, yeah, the Knicks are the best team right now, but, they're aging, and a lot of people thought Boston was the best team coming into the postseason. The Cavs coming into the season were one of the favorites to win the East. So I think we all know the East is way more ups for grabs at this point than the West is. So I think it's a lot of different things, but people are definitely excited with the potential of what the Wizards maybe could be next season and in the future.
Yeah, PJ Glasser, our guest here. We're here on the Westwood One Sports Network and other fine platforms talking some odds here. PJ, I fell out of interest with the PGA. I was surprised to see the TV ratings were pretty good for the PGA Championship. This week we get the Byron Nelson, Scotty Scheffler, the defending champ of this tournament. So give us kind of your rundown here, what to expect on the PGA Tour, and are there any plays you like here this week?
Gene, I can promise you this week that heading into Sunday, the leader will not be 6 under par at the Byron Nelson Classic this week. I don't think we're going to be seeing that. This is going to be a birdie fest. I mean, you're looking at like the winning score being in the mid-20s or somewhere in that range. Scotty is the overwhelming favorite. He's like plus 160, plus 150 this week. Siwoo Kim is the next highest guy. If you're looking for somebody towards the top of the board, I can never bet a golfer, Gene, to win a tournament at plus 150, even though Scotty probably does win it this week. But Brooks Koepka, very quietly, is like one of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour. He can't buy a putt right now, but his ball striking has been so good. And with this week being a birdie fest and the greens being way easier than what they were at Aronimink this past week or what they've been in the last couple of signature events that they've played, I think Brooks could rack up some birdies with the way he's been ball striking. So I think he could be a look this week. And then Jonathan Vegas is another guy that I like this week down the board. Vegas is usually good on these birdie fest type golf courses, and another guy who's really hitting his irons well right now, and he's been very good off the tee. So Johnny Vegas and Brooks Koepka, G, would be my two looks this week at the Byron Nelson.
So we've got 3 games in progress in baseball right now, including your Orioles, who are tied at 1 with the Rays. PJ, any plays tonight in baseball? We've got, for us locally here, you'll be able to watch the Yankees taking on the Jays, Schlittler against Yusevich. That's a fun matchup from the Bronx. Anything that you could see from a betting angle that piques your interest?
Yeah, that under in that Yankees-Blue Jays game I like. You mentioned the pitching matchup, Schlittler and Yusevich. I mean, that is big time. And the total's 7.5, so I think an under is a good spot there with those two starting pitchers. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, so I do like that under 7.5. And then in the A's-Angels game, Gene, Aaron Savali for the A's very quietly having a terrific season. He's only given up 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts, so he's been terrific for the A's on the mound. And they're only a minus 125 favorite tonight on the road against the Angels. So I like the Athletics tonight on the money line behind Savali as well.
Yeah, PJ, we got to get you up here this summer. Visit family, hang with us here in the sports bar. PJ, like, where can we get your content? It is always kind of a cool kind of thing to hear weeknights or maybe weekends here on the network.
Yeah, Gene, I'll be on again Friday, BetMGM tonight with Pat Boyle. So looking forward to that. That'll be fun. I'll be on Monday, Memorial Day as well. So a couple shifts there coming up, and then I'll be on BetMGM Game Day on Sunday with Chris Mack. So doing a bunch of shows here over the next 4 or 5 days. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and everybody, don't call up and try. I urge you, do not call up and try to get PJ to say Baltimore accent names. I mean, this is national radio. We can't have any of that coming out of Rochester, PJ.
Well, Gene, they absolutely can. You know, I mean, if they want some Baltimore accents, we can make that happen, especially with some of these series that we have. You know, if they want to talk about somebody on the Knicks like G Anunoby, Gene, we can make that happen, or some of these other guys.
Fantastic stuff, PJ. Let's do this again next week. Appreciate you as always, PJ.
Absolutely, Gene. Good talking to you, pal.
Thanks. PJ Glasser, our guest here. I love that guy. By the way, the Orioles are up now on the Rays 3-1. They are in the 6th. The corrections time here. Caden Primo, I said this at the beginning of the show, and thank you for those who pointed out. He was bouncing around last year. But it's funny how things can seem hot. I'm thinking that's the next guy here for Montreal, and then, you can't stick with the Carolina organization. You had a cup of coffee with the Maple Leafs. So, again, the idea going back to where do you find the next goaltender here for if you're going to go that route for the Sabres. 585-866-4326. Last call is for you. We'll get to some of your tweets as well on X. We'll clean it all up for you. Do join us next year. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Last call is for you at 585-866-4326. Linda in Webster joining us. Good afternoon, Linda.
Hi, Gino. Thanks for taking my call. Hi, Timmy. Hi, Dan. Just some last few thoughts on the Sabres. I thought they played a great game. They were hustling and hustling after every puck. They just had such great effort until the last play. And I saw that puck just sort of sitting by its lonesome to the right of Dobish all by itself. And thinking, come on, guys, hustle after that puck. And then you have one Montreal guy passes it through the neutral zone to another Montreal guy, and then he passes it to Voldemort, who scores the overtime goal.
What did you call him?
Yeah, him. You know,
yeah.
he who shall not be named.
Gotcha.
So I'm disappointed, but not crushed like some Bills losses have been. Because I think that they have a great foundation going in the future. We saw a lot of young stars just taking it to the next level, and a lot of them who started here in Rochester, which is really cool. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you, Sabres, for a great season.
Yeah, Linda, thank you. And look, not as crushing as the Bills loss, because the reality was, I think we all knew, like, the stars were aligned for the Buffalo Bills this past year. We're all optimistic. When did DA's podcast, he hit me with this question, like, what other than goaltending, what needs to change for the Sabres? I'm like, win on home ice. Like, name me a series where you're going to lose 3 of 4 on home ice. Like, this was, and you go back to the Boston series. Feel bad for Sabre fans who ponied up the money, and then that's kind of the way it ended, right? To your point on the last play, I'm not giving Darlene, he doesn't escape without blame. He was fantastic in this series, but when you get to overtime hockey, you can't be trying for the home run play. Like, time is up. Like, dump it in,
chip the puck back in.
Yep,
can't have that.
Cannot happen. Cannot happen. It leads to the series events that end up being in the game-winning goal. Today's show was great. PJ Glasser, who just joined us. Also, Sal Capaccio filling us in on the Buffalo Bills, which, look, that is kind of the Bills conversation I want to have with anybody. Like, tell me about the wide receivers. Like, who is going to be the guy if it's not Shavers? And the surprising answer is, like, Sherfield. That's right. He's back. Totally forgot about that. So, yeah, we went a little deeper when it came to the fullback, special teams, that sort of thing, as well as, like, the linebackers, D-line, all that stuff. Sal Capaccio was in the 1 o'clock hour. Wherever you get your fine audio, just search us up, and you can download the app today, free in the Odyssey app. Now, tomorrow on the show, we'll put a bow on the Sabres here before we head to the offseason. Tomorrow will be our last show of the week because we're going to take a break here for the long holiday. Had the Sabres won, we would have done a show on Friday, but you know what? We got to be strategic when we take our time off. We're going to take our time off here coming up on Friday. Just make it a long weekend. And hopefully you get to enjoy a long weekend as well. But we're back doing this on Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m. as today's show. Really appreciate Dan DeLorean, appreciate Tim Schneider, and everybody for listening. And we'll have more updates, too, on when we will actually be at ESL Ballpark throwing out the first pitch for the Rochester Red Wings. Hopefully we can share some details with you on that coming up in the month of June. Again, we're on the air Eastern Time, 1 to 3 locally. You can listen back to us in the Odyssey app on demand. That is how most people do it. So if 1 to 3 you're working, hey, just punch us up on your way home or in the evening, whenever it is good for you. My name is Gene Battaglia, Chopin the Bulldog, coming your way next here on 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
You're in the